fantasy football season approaching. He has the top 50 players overall. I'm ranking going into the year number 1 Ja'Marr Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. Last season, he did it all with the Cincinnati Bengals. He put up monster numbers, and especially in PPR leagues, no one's going to come close to the production Ja'Marr Chase is putting up. So Chase going into the year, it's no debate. He's number 1 for me. Number 2, Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles. I know some people got Bijan in that number 2 spot ahead of Saquon Barkley. I know last season a lot of work for Saquon, over 300 carries in the regular season, and then the playoffs, tons of work as well as they won the Super Bowl. But Barkley going into the year, you just got to ride with it. I know he's had injury concerns throughout his career, but what we saw him do in his first season in Philadelphia, I'm not saying he's going to rush for 2,000 yards again, but a big season could be on the horizon for Saquon. Number 3, Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan, in his third season in the league for Bijan Robinson, already one of the best playmakers in the league. And this season with Michael Penix at quarterback, I think they're going to feed him the rock even more, where they're not going to want Penix to go out there and throw the football 35 plus times a game, and they're going to be more of a running team. I think a little bit is Atlanta, where previous seasons they like to throw the football a lot. Last year with Cousins in the beginning of the year, quarterback. But Bijan, we know as well, one of the best receiving backs in the league. Number 4, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. It was close for me between Gibbs and Justin Jefferson coming into the year, but I think the ceiling for Gibbs is a little bit higher, and with Justin Jefferson, with J.J. McCarthy in their quarterback, I don't know if he's going to have a good year, even though Jefferson last season with Sam Darnold put up big numbers. But Jahmyr Gibbs, he might get more work this year than in other seasons where it was a 50-50 backfield. It might go 60-40 his way, or maybe 55-45 in Jahmyr Gibbs' favor, but with his playmaking ability, and he's a dual threat in the backfield, catching the football, big playability. I like Gibbs a lot. 5, Jefferson, like I said, it was close, but like I said with McCarthy, we'll see what he could do this season. Is Justin Jefferson. He's a great route runner, one of the best wide receivers in the league. Even with McCarthy in their quarterback, I think he could get things done. We saw with Sam Darnold last season. And Jefferson, to me, is my number 2 wide receiver going into the year. Number 6, CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb, he's been a great pro since he entered the league. And even last season, with Dak Prescott out half the year with his hamstring injury, with Cooper Rush in there, and Lamb was dealing with a shoulder injury, he still went out there and put up numbers. So this season, he's easily top 2, 3 wide receiver, whichever way you want to spin it going into the season. Number 7, Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. I said this in other videos, when healthy, McCaffrey's obviously got the upside of being a top running back in this room this season. But obviously, with the injury last year, he's bumped down for me, Christian McCaffrey. But he's going under the radar a little bit. There's some platforms where he's not even cracking the top 10 as CMC. But like I said, he's been healthy all training camp. If they were made the playoffs last year, he would have been ready in January, is McCaffrey. And this season, I think he's a guy that could bounce back as long as he stays on the field in this Kyle Shanahan system. Number 8, Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams. I'm big on Puka Nacua than other people. There's some platforms he's going late first, early second round is Puka Nacua. And even if Matthew Stafford misses time, he's a product of the Sean McVay system. They find design plays to get Puka Nacua open. He's a great route runner as well and has great hands. And last season, he was on his way to a monster year if he didn't miss multiple games, and he got thrown out of a game early as well for fighting with Puka. Number 9, Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions, one of the best route runners in the league. Great hands, seems like every season over 100 catches, fast turf, indoors in Detroit. I know obviously they lost Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator, but I still don't think that's going to affect St. Brown. And he's another guy going late, even early second round, I've seen on some platforms. Number 10, Nico Collins of the Houston Texans. So Collins, he was on his way to having possibly a top 2 or 3 performance at the wide receiving position last year before he went down with his hamstring injury, where it seemed like every game was 100 yards and a touchdown in the early going. So I know Houston brought in Christian Kirk, drafting Jaden Higgins, but Nico Collins, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league, and I think he goes out there again this year and has a big season. 11, Malik Neighbors of the New York Giants. I know he's banged up a little bit, his Neighbors, and last season with no quarterback play, still went out there, had a big year, big playability, and now they upgraded quarterback where it's going to be Russell Wilson in the beginning of the season, but it wouldn't be surprising to me what we've seen in the preseason fight from Jackson Dart. If Russ struggles, Jameis Winston's back there as well. That Dart could come in midseason. But like I said, Malik Neighbors last year with a bunch of no-names, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock at times at the quarterback position, Daniel Jones early in the year still went out there and put up numbers. Number 12, Ashton Ginty of the Vegas Raiders. I know I might be higher on Ginty than other people, but this kid, he's got it all coming out, and one of the better running back prospects come out in the last decade from college. We see the physicality from Ginty. I know catching the football could be a little bit of an issue for him coming into the year, but he's going to be a workhorse for this Raider team. And it's not like he's on a bad offense. They got Brock Bowers, got Jacoby Myers, Geno Smith, capable quarterback. Also, Pete Carroll, head coach, Chip Kelly, a good offensive coordinator. So with all those factors and just the big workload where there's no competition over there. I know they got Raheem Mostert, but I don't really see him getting many touches on Ginty. 13, Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins. Devon Achane last season, he went out there, he carried a full workload for this Miami Dolphin team. He could catch the football out of the backfield. He's a big-time player, and we saw in his rookie season, 8 yards per carry he had this Devon Achane. So as long as Tua is healthy and he gets healthy by week 1, I think once again, especially in the second round, it's great value for Achane this year. 14, Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Brian Thomas last season, what a rookie year was for him. And keep this in mind, he put up all these numbers with Mac Jones in their quarterback. So if Trevor Lawrence could stay healthy, stay on the field, and not turn the football over and get it out quicker, and adding Travis Hunter, this offense will help a lot. I think Brian Thomas, once again, could put up similar numbers or better numbers coming in. 15, Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens. I know I'm down on Henry compared to other websites where he's been going in the first round as Henry. But in PPR leagues, he don't catch the football as Henry. I don't think every season you could count on him scoring anywhere from 12 to 15 touchdowns, especially with Lamar Jackson as a running quarterback. Even though at the goal line he don't take the ball a lot, is Lamar over the last couple seasons. But like I said, Derrick Henry, he's up there in age. He's got to tail off sooner than later, even though last season was a monster first year for him in Baltimore and he got a new contract. But just like I said, Derrick Henry, definitely a great player. But those other backs and players, I think, have better upside. And at his age, with a lot of miles on his body, he could break down anytime. 16, Brock Bowers of the Vegas Raiders. So Brock Bowers, an elite tight end. Last season, over 100 catches, one of the best tight end seasons of all time. Obviously, Bowers had just in his rookie year with the Raiders, and that was with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, a quarterback. Now to have a veteran like Geno Smith, a head coach like Pete Carroll coming in, and a running game with Ashton Ginty behind there, I think Bowers, he could go off even more this season with a more open field and teams not just zeroing in on him. And he's a matchup problem for safeties and linebackers. They can't cover him. And he's like a hybrid wide receiver kind of. So if you took him in the second round, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, because at tight end, you'll have a big advantage. 17, A.J. Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles. A.J. Brown, year in and year out, he puts up numbers. I know on and off he's been injured throughout his career, and he'll miss games during the season as A.J. Brown. But him and Hurts have been locked in last season, especially winning the Super Bowl in Philadelphia. And he's just got big playability and game breaking ability where he can run all the routes and he can burn a secondary. 18, Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Bucky Irving, he's been moving up my list a lot over the last couple weeks. He's a 3-down back, catch the football out of the backfield. And let's remember, last season he didn't even start the year as a starter and got limited touches the first month, and he still finished with 1,300 yards from scrimmage, over 40 catches. Irvin, like I said, he's a real 3-down back. I know he's a smaller back, but he fits this Tampa Bay offense very well. 19, Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. So London, I've seen on Yahoo, he's going 13th, 14th overall, but I just don't see that with London. Michael Penix, he's going to start the year as the quarterback, where I think they're going to run heavy in the early going is this Atlanta Falcon team. But London's still a great receiver. I think he'll get 90, 95 catches, 1,000 yards, anywhere from 6 to 9 touchdowns. But I don't like his upside like these other players. And who knows what we get out of Penix as well, entering his first season as a starting quarterback after he came in last year for a few games. 20, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. So Taylor, physical back. You know the workload volume is going to be there. 250, 300 touches when healthy for Jonathan Taylor. And Indianapolis don't have a lot going in that offense. But the only thing with him is obviously he don't catch the football out of the backfield. 21, Ladd McConkey of Los Angeles Chargers. One of the better possession wide receivers already, only entering his second season in the league as McConkey. And we know he's got home run ability We know he's a crisp route runner. He's a tough cover coming out of the slot, lining up an outside, whatever you want to put him. And he just fits his system. And Justin Herbert, we've seen that success with Keenan Allen for many years as the same type of receiver as McConkey. And now, obviously, with Keenan Allen back as well, it can help the offense. And McConkey, even more, 22, Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Brown's been moving up my draft board over the last couple weeks. No competition in that backfield. They had Zach Moss last year, then he got hurt, not on the roster anymore. They brought in Samaje Perine, who's been a former Bengal, but he's at the latter part of his career. And Chase Brown showed even as a smaller back, he could be a 3-down back and already one of the better receiving backs in the league. 23, Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. I'm higher on Hill than other people. He's going mid-third, I've seen on some platforms, is Tyreek Hill, but we know he's capable of Tyreek Hill, 1,500-yard seasons, double-digit touchdowns, and still a guy, even if he lost a step, let's say, almost approaching 30 years old, he's still a wide receiver that's one of the fastest guys in all the league. And this team, they know it's make or break this season for this Dolphins coaching staff and the front office. So I think this season they're going to try to pepper Tyreek Hill with targets, and he still gives them the best chance to go out there and put points on the board and move the football. 24, Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. So some people down on Williams coming into the year, thinking Blake Corum might into the workload, even though last season he didn't. And Kyren, with his contract was looming, was an issue as well. But now, obviously, he re-signed 3 years, $33 million, got his money in training camp, and he's fit this Sean McVay offense very well in the last 2 seasons, where he's a 1,300, 1,400-yard running back. The only thing with him, he don't catch the football out of the backfield a lot, but what he does on the ground and touchdown-wise, he's putting up numbers yearly. 25, Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals. So he's my second tight end off the board. Mid-second round, here's Trey McBride. Great tight end, obviously, number one option in the offense for the Arizona Cardinals. And pretty much besides him, it's Marvin Harrison over there. So McBride, he could give you a big advantage at the tight end position. And I wouldn't have a problem taking him in the mid-second. And even these quarterbacks now, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, mid to late second round, I wouldn't have a problem with them. Because you got to think of it this way. Who's going to score more points for me this season? Is going to be these two quarterbacks, or a guy like an Amari Hampton, Jacobs, or Mike Evans, who I have to close out to the number 30 spot. So Josh Allen, to me, is the number one quarterback. Very close. I know Lamar, he's going obviously number one overall at the quarterback position for many people. But I just think Allen's more healthier throughout his NFL career. And looking at the rushing yards, it's not far off between Lamar and Josh Allen. And obviously Allen gets more passing yards and more total touchdowns most years than not than Lamar. But if you prefer Lamar, obviously I don't have a problem with that. These are two great quarterbacks, and especially in leagues where you're going a quarterback, 2 receivers, 2 backs, and a flex, taking that quarterback in the second round, especially an elite player like this, where these guys are pretty much running backs as well with the rushing upside. Couldn't go wrong there. 28, Amari Hampton of the Los Angeles Chargers. Hampton, he's moving up my board very quickly over the last couple weeks here, with other running backs struggling or banged up in training camp. And right now, Hampton, like I said, he looks like he's going to be the guy. Najee Harris, he's been sitting on the sidelines the majority of training camp with an eye injury. And even if Harris steps in and takes some work, we haven't seen explosiveness from him over the last couple seasons. And he's only on a 1-year deal where he's not a long-term solution in the backfield anyway. And Amari Hampton's look good so far in training camp in the preseason. 29, Josh Jacobs of the Packers. So I'm down on Jacobs than consensus, where he's going early to mid-second round in most fantasy leagues. But I think Jacobs back end of the second or early third round is good value, where Jordan Love, if healthy, he's going to spread the football out all over the field. And Jacobs, another running back that don't catch the football out of the backfield much. 30, Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm big on Evans than consensus as well, where he's going in the late third, early fourth round is Evans, but 11 years in a row with 1,000 yards, and Chris Godwin most likely not being ready for the opener. The target to be there for Evans once again early and often this season. 31, George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers. So only 3 tight ends I got in my top 50, and Kittle closes it out at 31. So Kittle, number 2 option in the passing game. He's going to be the number 1 option most likely in the passing game in the early going. Jawan Jennings, he's banged up. He's trying to get a new contract and holding out at the same time, it seems like. Brandon Ayuk, he's not going to be ready coming off a late season ACL last year. Ricky Pearsall, he's the healthiest receiver coming in, but we don't know what we're going to see out of him in the early going. And obviously Christian McCaffrey's healthy and ready to go out of the backfield. But like I said, is a pure option in the passing game and running route play. George Kittle is going to be the number one option in the passing game, but obviously McCaffrey's still one of the best receiving backs in the league. 32, Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets. I'm higher on Wilson than other people are coming into the season. He's been a 1,000-yard receiver every year, even with poor quarterbacks over the last few seasons. Zach Wilson, he was horrible for the New York Jets. Even Mike White, going back a couple years ago, he still went out there, put up numbers. And last season with Rodgers and Davante Adams in New York, Wilson still put up over 1,000 yards. Every year you're going to get 90 to 100 catches from Wilson. You're going to get over 1,000 yards. I know Justin Fields is in there quarterback, but I mentioned in other videos, DJ Moore with Fields a few years ago had over 1,300 yards. So the track record's there where Fields, he could help a number one wide receiver, have good fantasy value. 33, Jackson Smith-Njigba of the Seattle Seahawks. So JSN, I think he's a decent early to mid-third round pick is Jackson Smith. Coming in, I was a little weary with him, obviously, with Sam Darnold in there quarterback, but this offense in the receiving room is going to run through JSN. I know they brought in Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf are gone, so new options in the passing game, new quarterback with Sam Darnold. And we saw last season Sam Darnold produce and put up numbers, and Justin Jefferson had a big year. So I think over here in Seattle, JSN, he could have an 85 to 90 catch season and have over 1,000 yards, anywhere 7 to 10 touchdown range. 34, Davante Adams of the Los Angeles Rams. So his first season in Los Angeles, one of the first players to sign a free agency, and I think he's going to fit in well in this McVay system is Davante Adams. So even as the number two option in the passing game, and even if Matthew Stafford is out, I think Adams has a good year. 35, T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. So T. Higgins, I'm a little lower on him, where he's going in the second to early third round of most fantasy drafts, but he's the number two option in the passing game behind Jamar Chase. He got his contract, well-deserved in the offseason, was T. Higgins, but the only thing with him as well has been injuries, and I don't think this team's going to be trailing like they were pretty much every game last season, 2 or 3 touchdowns, and have to throw 40 or 50 times. So I think the numbers drop off a bit. 36, James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. So James Cook, last season, he led the league in rushing touchdowns from the running back position. I don't think that's going to happen once again for Cook. They didn't bring much in the receiving room. Joshua Palmer, they added. Amari Cooper left. He's not on the roster anymore, even though he didn't do much. And James Cook got his contract as well, and he should be ready to go now in training camp, not dealing and thinking about his contract and into the season in week 1. 37, Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. I got Hurts over Jaden Daniels, but I've said in other videos it's close to me. If you prefer Daniels, that's fine, but I just think Hurts has more weapons, and obviously with the push, he's got more upside to get more rushing touchdowns, need more passing yards with better options. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Barkley out of the backfield. 38, Breece Hall of the New York Jets. So Breece Hall, he's fallen off a little bit in my rankings as well, after we've seen Braylon Allen pretty much split work with Hall in the preseason, but Hall's still a better receiving back out of the backfield, still an explosive back, and you know Hall's motivated as well, where he wants a contract extension, where he saw his teammates Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner get there. So Hall this season, he knows it's a big year for him. He wants to cash in, and that with Braylon Allen breathing down his neck, giving him competition, I still think Hall's motivated, and he could have a good year. Now with the running threat of Justin Fields as well in the backfield, it could open things up for Hall just a little bit more. 39, Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. So like I said, Jaden Daniels, if you want to take him over Jalen Hurts, that's fine with me. But I think Daniels, the league could catch on a little bit. And we've seen some quarterbacks throughout their career have sophomore slumps. At Jaden Daniels, one of the better rushing quarterbacks. I'd put him up there with Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields in that class, and Josh Allen, obviously. But like I said, this season could be a little bit of a step back possibly for Jaden Daniels, even though they did add Deebo Samuel, and it looks like Merrill's going to be the starting running back for them. 40, Marvin Harrison Jr. of the Arizona Cardinals. So Marvin Harrison, it definitely was a down rookie season for him, but he took it personally, I think, coming into the season. He bulked up in the offseason, was Marvin Harrison. You know, Kyler Murray's capable of getting the football out and obviously making someone produce as a number one option. We've seen it with Trey McBride. And Marvin Harrison, A lot of people sleeping on him coming into the year after, like I said, last season he was a second-round pick and he didn't live up to the expectations. I think this year he could bounce back and be solid. 41, Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Seahawks. So Kenneth Walker, he's a home run hitting back with big playmaking ability, but the injuries have kept him back a little bit. But now this offense, a lot of new pieces: Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp, Arroyo at the tight end position. I know Zach Charbonnet, one of the better handcuff backs in the league, but Kenneth Walker, he's going to get his opportunities. And like I said, last season in the games he played, he showed he's an elite running back and could put up numbers. 42, DK Metcalf of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So maybe I'm bigger on DK Metcalf than Consensus and other podcasters and websites. But the thing is, DK Metcalf arguably playing with Aaron Rodgers, who always has wide receivers put up big numbers. We saw last season Wilson and Devontae Adams put up nice numbers for the New York Jets, and there's no other options over there pretty much in Pittsburgh unless they go out there and try to make a trade for a wide receiver. But it's DK Metcalf. You got the rookie Caleb Johnson, Warren in the backfield, tight end Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth. But we know Rodgers, he don't really like targeting the tight end position, so I think Metcalf is going to work his way into volume. And like I said, there's not another young wide receiver there with the upside like JSN had in Seattle to take a lot of targets and opportunities away from Metcalf. They got Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin, but I don't see those guys eating into his target share. 43, Xavier Worthy of the Kansas City Chiefs. Xavier Worthy, it could be a breakout second season for him. Rashee Rice, we'll see after week 4 at that September 30th hearing if he gets suspended or not. But Xavier Worthy, he can run the routes. He's one of the quickest guys in the NFL. And if they could figure a way out to get him in space like they did Tyreek Hill all those seasons with Mahomes, we could see a big season from Xavier Worthy. But with Travis Kelce still there and Rashee Rice playing the first 4 games of the season, maybe I'm a little lower on Worthy than obviously Consensus. 44, Tatora McMillan of the Carolina Panthers. So I'm big on McMillan coming into the season. He's the number 1 wide receiver prospect coming out this year. He's got the size, he's got the route running ability, and he's got the game-breaking home run hitting ability as well as McMillan, where last season he looked like a man amongst boys in college, where he was just catching the football, breaking a tackle, and there he goes for 50, 60 yards down the sidelines for a touchdown. And in Carolina, there's no competition. Adam Thielen's still there. He's a vet, latter part of his career. Xavier Legette, he didn't do much in his rookie season, and Jalen Coker. And this Panther team's going to be trailing early and often. So with his profile and his upside, and he's a matchup problem at 6'4", I like McMillan a lot this year. 45, Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. So maybe I'm bigger on Kamara as well than Consensus. But Kamara every season amongst the league leaders in receptions out of the backfield. PPR leagues, he's a big-time running back, obviously, is Kamara. And there's no competition there as well, really, for Alvin Kamara. And Taysom Hill now, he's going to miss majority of the season where he's recovering from a late season ACL. So with all those factors, and at the quarterback position, Tyler Show or Spencer Rattler, it's going to be, they're going to rely on Kamara a lot, and a lot of screen. Chris Olave is still there. Rashid Shaheed, decent options in the receiving game, but I still think Kamara, he's going to get peppered with targets, and obviously there's no competition in the backfield with him. 46, DJ Moore of the Chicago Bears. So he's been moving up my draft board the last couple weeks. Last season was a down year for him, and he still had 98 receptions. So the yards and touchdowns do have to go up for Moore, where he failed to reach 1,000 yards. But now with Ben Johnson, the head coach, and he's a great offensive mind, where he was the offensive coordinator with the Lions, and we saw what that offense could do. I think DJ Moore could go out there this season and put up similar numbers like he did a few years ago, where he was having some monster ball games and had 1,300 yards receiving. 47, Rashee Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs. So he's going to be suspended possibly after week 4 is Rashee Rice. But we saw early in last season, before he went out with his knee injury for the season, he was making big plays. One of the better yard after catch wide receivers early in his career already. Patrick Mahomes could get back to that elite level, even close to it, like he was a few seasons ago. Both Worthy and Rashee Rice are going to have big years. But like I said, if he's suspended 4 or 5 games after week 4, or pushes to next season, which is a possibility as well, then Rashee Rice will move up even more on the list as the year goes on. 48, George Pickens of the Dallas Cowboys. So Pickens, he's going to play with the best quarterback in his career in Dak Prescott. I know Russell Wilson he had last year, but Russ ain't the same Russ like he was in his Seahawk days. And George Pickens, he's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage where he's got CeeDee Lamb on the other side with defenses double teaming him. So Pickens, we know he makes crazy catches, acrobatic grabs, and on one-on-one coverage, he could burn a lot of secondaries. And also, like I said, it's a contract season, so I think Pickens, if he stays healthy, learns from a guy like CeeDee Lamb, it could be a monster year for him. 49, Trevion Henderson of the New England Patriots. I'm very high on Henderson coming into the season. What we've seen from him so far in preseason, he's a top 20 back for me pretty easily, is Trevion Henderson. He's got the game-breaking ability. We know New England doesn't have a lot of big playmakers on the offense where they could take a little play and make it into a 60, 70-yard touchdown. So Henderson, a lot of hype was coming into the year, and now what we've seen from him in the preseason with a 100-yard kick return and when he could do receiving the football out of the backfield. And Ramondre Stevenson, undisclosed injury, missed some time in training camp as well. I think Henderson quickly is going to move up draft boards within the next week and be a player that could be big time for fantasy owners and see the field a lot early on for this Patriot team and never look back once he gets a lot of carries and produces. And the 50th and final play I'm ranking is Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders. So Terry definitely falling down the rankings. He's holding out right now. He just came off the PUP a few days ago, and he's holding out for a contract. I think he'll eventually get the contract before week 1 is Terry McLaurin, but we've seen in years past players hold out and they get off to slow starts, or they just have a down year totally, or they get injured. So training camp, a lot of people don't think it's a big deal if a guy sits out, but those reps are big. Sitting out the preseason's one thing, but training camp, getting the reps in, getting the playbook down, more your stamina, and build up towards week 1 and get into that playbook. So that's the top 50 players I'm ranking entering the 2025 fantasy football season.